No. Tell me that mankind has the ability to surrender. That just leads me to a million pieces. I can't even speak, guys. Consider in a heartbreaking apology that rocks the core of love and hip-hop Atlanta. Karlie Redd stands alone in the limelight, trimming down her cheek. For weeks, there have been rumors of a covert pregnancy and a failing marriage, and Karlie's statements suddenly appeared to validate all of the rumors. As fans watched her try to find the perfect words, emotions were running high. Years of suffering and sorrow are carried in every tear. Kirk Frost, the guy who used to be in the center of her world, is apparently ecstatic about the prospect of a new life. As their relationship breaks down, audiences are astounded by Kirk's and Karlie's vulnerability. Unexpected joy in the middle of controversy. There is a split among the family between those who understand her hardship and others who doubt her. Timing. What does Karlie's future hold in light of her admission? And can Kirk's heartbreak and happiness coexist? The laws of reality might be rewritten at this combustible time, so pay attention. Drama. No one can predict where the next turn will lead. The voice of Karlie Redd, the studio around her, became still, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, and she shuddered as she entered the circle of lights. Her cheeks were wet, with tears glistening in the spotlight of flashes from cameras that would normally celebrate her exaggerated image. She said, "I want to say I'm sorry," in a voice that was almost audible above a whisper. But for some reason, every word carried the weight of every story that had been written about her in the previous few weeks. When they see this side of Karlie, fans are shocked. The strong reality star had to face her own errors in front of the world after taking off her armor. The cast's hesitant exchanges caused emotions to run high, looks uncertain of how to react to her honest confession. The family was split between those who were sympathetic to her bravery and others who concerned that the apology was just another publicity gimmick. Each word coated in regret, Karlie said, wiping her face with a shaky palm. With her voice breaking under the stress, she said, "I allowed rumors about my personal life to overshadow the friendships and careers we built together. When I should have spoken the truth, I let fear keep me quiet." Her gaze swept over her co-stars' faces, lingering on the camera, feeds that showed millions of viewers every detail of her. The apology reverberated throughout the studio and in the hearts of fans who had seen her develop an empire on self-assurance and flair. Now, at a vulnerable moment, audiences are surprised to see that even reality stars have the same fears we combat behind closed doors. However, as the silence grew, Karlie's shoulders slumped and her eyes fell, suggesting a secret more sinister than remorse. She said, "There's something else I've been carrying," her voice breaking with emotion. As she raised her eyes, the team let out a collective gasp. "I might be expecting a child." Her sincere apologies was turned into a revelation that had the power to completely alter all of the relationships in her immediate circle when the confession hit like a thunderclap. Whispers of pregnancy and new life swept through the control room, dividing the family, and emotions were running high. While others scowled, doubting the timing, and wondered how this might impact their own storylines. Others went for tears and sympathy. Karlie and the Unsimera drama couldn't see Kirk Frost, who was standing just outside the set headset, still hooked to his ear, looking through scripts and monitors like a producer. When he heard the whispered rumor that she was pregnant, his look changed from one of professional concentration to one of intimate joy. He thought, "This is the blessing I've been waiting for," and his lips curled into a joyful grin. Fans are taken aback by Kirk's response to seeing a guy known for his heated arguments become more amiable at the idea of starting a new life with Karlie. Despite the fact that their marriage had been, emotions were running high at the contrast. With Karlie's tears of regret and Kirk's silent happiness leaving every viewer wondering if love could endure controversy when hope came in the guise of an unborn child. Karlie straightened up in the studio as if she were steeling herself to avoid the consequences of her revelation. With a determined tone, she said, "My marriage has been failing for months. We had arguments, harmed each other, and were never able to get back on track." The revelations seemed to burst a barrier of mutual. The depth of her sadness has startled her fans, and the others in the circle felt the jolt as well. The family was split, and emotions were running high as they recognized the old sting of promises betrayed. While some argued that it was reckless to bring a child into a broken union, others whispered that a pregnancy could heal a broken relationship. In a burst, I persuaded myself a baby would heal everything, and Karlie bravely looked across the faces of her co-stars, reaching out with words as frail as the tears on her cheeks. She closed her eyes against the sting of new tears and said, "I know now that life isn't a plot twist to resolve drama." She acknowledged that it would lead us back to love. Fans are amazed by her lucidity in the face of agony, while the crew and off-camera aides held their breath together. The family was split as they saw her progress despite her world seemingly collapsing. Some gave subtle nods of understanding, while others exchanged cautious glances, wondering if her voyage could change their own paths. Then, as Karlie looked toward the wings where Kirk had momentarily appeared on monitor feeds, a low mutter flowed around the set, as if sensing his presence via the lens. She halted and gave him a silent acknowledgement before the camera zoomed out. Catching both the Kirk's fair-off figure beside the call room and the confession circle evoked strong feelings due to their unspoken connection. Fans are astonished by the subtle intensity of that gaze as tensions rise as viewers consider his part in this developing drama. The way that current controversy and old love merged into one picture? In spite of the barrage of disclosures, Karlie raised her chin and said, "If this pregnancy is real," allowing a glimmer of hope to shine through her grief. Even though the glare of reality television loomed, the moment seemed holy as her palm lightly touched her abdomen, an intuitive move that screamed volumes. "I want to confront it with truth, not secrets. To devour it." Admirers are astounded by her determination, their hearts racing at the thought of the difficulties that lie ahead. Dot's family was torn between applauding her candor and worrying about the consequences of making her private life a public spectacle. With hands flying with cue cards, a production assistant yelled for continuation just as the passion peaked. "Karlie, I'm ready to own my tale," she said, taking a last deep breath to regain her composure and giving the team one more look. Voice that is more forceful but more vulnerable. "I want to regain Kirk's confidence as well as the trust of all of you, myself." The words signaled a sea change. An apology had evolved into a fans are astounded by the journey's transformational effect. Confession, and a confession now created the foundation for atonement. The family was left split, suspended, and emotions were running high as they prepared for what would happen next. Between the optimism and the seriousness of Karlie's disclosures, that truth might mend scars too deep to ignore. The cameras kept rolling, catching every glimmer of unease and interest as the studio hummed with uneasy tension. Following the emotional confession, Yandi lingered close by, arms crossed, as Karlie collapsed into a soft sofa somewhat off-center, her body drooping with fatigue. Kirk Frost stood behind the lens headset hanging from one ear, his thoughts racing with uncertainty and expectation. His hands crossed, a silent sentinel, ready to step in if the peace broke again. Emotions were running high as every breath seemed heavy with possibilities, and fans were astonished by the intensity that electrified the air. The family was split, with some speculating that this pregnancy may mend past hurts, while others were afraid it would only deeper. A production assistant motioned for silence, but there were still a lot of unanswered questions on the set. Standing in the wings, Erica moved forward to console Karlie. Kneeling next to her and spoke softly, she said, "You did what you had to do," and Karlie nodded slightly, her eyes downcast. "I'm afraid now, but I spoke the truth," she acknowledged. Kirk stopped pacing and turned to observe the scene as Erica's hand found Karlie's shoulder, a soft anchor. In contrast to the stern exterior he always carried, his features melted with real compassion. Fans were taken aback by Kirk's kindness, and many were moved by this seldom look into the man behind the scandals. As word of Karlie's revelation spread, the cast experienced drama and controversies. Angel, equipped with her phone, scurried over to the producer's screen to play back snippets of the confession. "Have you seen Kirk's reaction?" As the video replayed, Eat leaned in and her eyes widened as she spoke to Yvette. "Almost happy," she saw, and Angel nodded with a somber face. "He seemed relieved," she said. This could be a kicker backstage. Tensions were intense as alliances changed, and fans are surprised that even Karlie's closest friends made predictions about Kirk's response before he ever spoke a word. Kirk came over as the executive producer signaled for a break, and the crew dispersed, leaving the three of them in a secluded area. Karlie walked carefully, his customary swagger giving way to a timid tenderness. He said softly, "I want you to know how much I care," and Karlie glanced up, her eyes shimmering with vulnerability. She said gently, "I know." Kirk groaned and combed his hair, saying, "This isn't what I anticipated," but he said, "I'm ready to stand by you." Kirk's steadfast devotion astounds fans. The family was split, juggling the hope that love may last with mistrust rooted in the past, while emotions ran high as they sensed his sincerity, betrayals. Yandi extended a kind but strong invitation after recognizing the delicate time. She indicated a small conference table and said, "Let's discuss what comes next." After exchanging glances, Karlie and Kirk followed Yandi to the table, where the producer had cue cards with the next steps written on them. Yandi leaned forward, and as they settled down, the space seemed to change into a war room of emotional strategy. We need limits, communication, and honesty, she said in a serious tone. Kirk agreed. Firmly, no more secrets, he swore. Karlie took a breath. She remarked, I want truth above all, and fans are astonished by their collective determination. As they saw the solidarity created in times of adversity dotted off to the side, emotions were running hot. With an analytical glitter in her eyes, Chantal observed. She tapped her lips reflectively before intervening. Arms crossed, she cautioned. If you're serious about this, you need to prepare for backlash. Tabloids will spin it as scandal, not hope. Kirk's jaw tightened, and we both spun it. With a glimmer of admiration in her eyes, Chantal nodded in response to his challenge. We'll frame it. The idea immediately took form, and she agreed that it would be a trip of atonement. Fans are taken aback by the strategic change, which includes media teasers, unguarded interviews, and carefully released images. The family was torn between genuine optimism and the realization that everything they did was now a staged story, and emotions were running high. And crafty manipulation? Kirk and Karlie Lingard's voices dropped to quiet tones as the meeting was ended. Karlie's fingers brushed Kirk's as she reached across the table. I'm not sure whether I can trust myself, or Kirk's face softened with regret. As she acknowledged, he said, I'll earn it back. I was honest. Fans are shocked by the moment, which sparked speculation about a possible turning point in their story. Emotions were strong as they perceived a turning point, and the family was left split, caught between fearing another sorrow. They were hoping for reconciliation. The director ordered action for the following portion as the studio doors opened. The actors reassembled, their faces calm but their minds racing. An angel returned with a resolute "I'd have live tweets ready," she said, taking a step while holding her phone. Eats set, we're at #1 worldwide, she said, her voice tinted with the team that hurried to record every moment as the monitor displayed the popular #shop OC Aria Comfy. Fans are astonished by the worldwide reaction. They are aware that audience involvement has reached a fever pitch. The family was split as they came to terms with the seriousness of Karlie's disclosure, with some taking great pride in the spotlight, others flinching at the intensity. Karlie inhaled deeply before speaking, steadily and directly to the audience on camera. This journey isn't over, she said, her eyes unblinking, while Kirk stood silently behind her. Yan Dandy, a staunch defender of their integrity, observed from the sidelines. The burst of the strength of this moment was signified by cameras. This was reality television at its most vulnerable and loudest. The genuineness astounded fans, who felt strong emotions as they related to Karlie's humanity. The experience of sharing their truths under constant scrutiny left the family both divided and united. The director called cut as the part came to a conclusion, and the whole cast let out a collective sigh. There was a pause before the crew began to applaud. Relieved and apprehensive at the same time, Karlie's tear-stained cheeks shone with Kirk's soothing palm on her back, and it seemed unreal as Yandindi pulled away for a comforting embrace. Fans are astounded at the tenacity shown as they handled confession, crisis, and healing under the spotlight. As the family awaited the editor's cut for tomorrow's broadcast, tensions were high and they were split between, despite both public pressure and private optimism. One thing was certain, their narrative had, as the cameras rolled for the third act of Karlie Redd's turbulent journey, the focus shifted, and the energy exploded with unbridled potential as we entered a new, unexplored chapter. Remaining tears clung to Karlie's eyelids as she sat at a little vanity mirror off to the side and ran her fingers through her wet hair. Yandandi lingered close, arms crossed but eyes gentle with worry, and Kirk loomed at her shoulder, his face a combination of resolve while trepidation. As they readied themselves for the next round of inquiries and rumors that threatened to overwhelm them, the strain was evident. Emotions ran high as fans watched their reality TV heroes reveal yet another layer of personal emotion, shocking them with the intimacy of the moment. Increased, leaving the family split between fear of more wounds and hope for recovery. The resumption to the live section was signaled by a voice booming from the monitor's speakers, and the three of them took their seats at a semicircle of stools facing the cameras with steely determination. Karlie held back, mustering all her bravery. She started, her voice faltering, and Kirk automatically reached out, threading his fingers. I learned something last night that changed everything. Fans are stunned by Karlie's actions as the cameras zoomed in and captured the tiny tremble in both of their grasp. Admission of discomfort. As viewers saw that her pregnancy fear had taken unanticipated twists, they were deeply affected by her vulnerability. I went for a private ultrasound too. Confirm what I felt, Karlie said after our conference room conversation. Yandy moved forward as Kirk swallowed hard and nodded in agreement as her words echoed through an empty hall. "We knew we had to be sure," she said quietly, because there was so much on the line. The studio seemed to breathe as the three of them looked at each other, united in purpose. Crew members stopping in mid-stride to take in the seriousness of the situation. As they wait for the next revelation, fans' hearts race in shock at how real their vulnerability is. Before dropping the bombshell, Karlie closed her eyes and said, "The results came back negative." Yandy's stance stiffened as the voice, just above, breathed in hers. "No, I'm not pregnant," Karlie said again, letting out a shuddering sigh. Fans are shocked by this reversal. The confession hit like a thunderbolt, and staff members leaned forward, with their mouths open, relief and grief mixed in equal measure, leaving the family split as emotions ran high. While some viewers wondered why Karlie allowed hope to spiral out of control, others sympathized with her emotional roller coaster. Lips parted, eyes moist with unsaid disappointment and lingering joy that had turned into a complex ache. "Kirk," single quotes with a thick voice, he whispered, "this changes everything." He closed his eyes and let her hand rub his temples in silent agony. "I thought I was ready," he replied. "I'm so sorry," Karlie blurted out, her cheeks reddened with remorse. My judgment is clouded by want and fear. I led us through conjecture." The soundstage was filled with the echo of regret as Kirk's apologies sounded genuine and hollow. Kirk's suffering stunned the fans as they related to his crushed dreams. Emotions were running high, and the family was split between. Yandy leaned closer to Karlie and put a consoling hand on her knee, out of sympathy for Kirk's loss and annoyance at Karlie's poor decision. "Kirk still loves you, and you're still you. We're still here," she said. "Nothing is erased by this." Karlie nodded, shedding fresh tears. "I understand," she said, "but the world saw my tears for a non-existent existence." And though the anxiety of public scrutiny radiated from her as she cracked her voice, mocking me for being theatrical, her candor stunned her fans, and many were overcome with emotion as memories of their own fears came flooding back. The family was forced to choose between the consolation that came from unity with other like-minded people and the pain of communal judgment that was there in the background. Chantel observed the scene with an analytical gaze, scrolling through social media feeds on her phone. "The internet's merciless," she warned. She touched her smartphone to display popular hashtags demonizing Karlie for desiring a baby at the wrong time, indicating that they would turn this into an enormous breakdown. "We can't let them spin our story," Kirk continued, looking at Chantel with worry on his face. "Solid. We need to take back the story." His remarks inspired the group, changing the mood from hopelessness to resolution. Kirk's leadership astounds fans. The family was split between mistrust of Spin and admiration for his protective attitude, and emotions were running high. Strategies and regard for their struggle to dominate the plot, a soft tap signaled the arrival of an unexpected guest. Karlie's old tutor, Mama D, came into the studio wearing a beaded gown that shimmered beneath the lights. "I heard my daughter needed some perspective," she added, her voice a reassuring rumble. Karlie got up and hurried to give her a hug, and while Mama D held her and said wise things that only this world strikes blows, Mama D stated forcefully, "But a mother figure might say, don't let this turmoil define you. Just remember who you are." Her presence provided a ray of hope. Her arrival's warmth astounded her fans, and they felt the wave of parental leadership. Despite the fact that the family was split apart, Mama D's appearance helped to momentarily circles of support and criticism. The reunion was filmed, and then the trio was once again in focus. As she led Karlie to sit next to Yandy and Kirk, Mama D turned to them all and said, "Listen, life isn't measured by headlines or baby tests. Your character is evaluated in front of the world." The words were full of truth. Karlie nodded and wiped her face. "I must," she said, "rediscover myself." Kirk clasped her hand once more. "We will," he replied. Yandy gave her a shoulder squeeze. "We will," she repeated. Supporters are astounded by their unity. As they saw a family, their emotions were running high. Assemble in support of one another, the family remained unified in their objective, but split only in the sense that strangers were watching. On an adjacent display, a fresh alarm appeared. A rival network's forthcoming clip, which claims to have discovered proof that Karlie intentionally spread stories in order to increase her ratings. The screen scrolled to the headline, "Part of the prank is Karlie's tears." The allegation hit like a spear, and the room froze. The team let out a chorus of incredulous and outraged shouts. Anger made Karlie's face flush. "Dare they?" she spat. Kirk moved forward, clenching his fists. "We take them on," he said, Mama D extended her hand. Wait, she managed to catch the answer with facts, not anger. The storm was once again subdued by her serene voice. The severity of the stains shocks fans. They sympathized with Karlie's outrage, and emotions were running high. Despite being split up, the family was guided by Mama D. They got ready to battle, return with honor. Why did Yon Dandy alert the producer to start the segment? Why the truth is important. The crew cut off the conversation as the cameras returned attention to the three, who were now Mama D's flank. From crisis to tension to conflict, the story was ready to swing again. Karlie stood up tall, her eyes flashed with resolve. She promised to present everything uncut. We'll display our humanity, our humor, and our heartbreak. Kirk gave a resolute nod. He claimed there was no more hiding. Yandy's chin went up. Our tale belongs to us. Their audacious posture shocks fans. Feelings were running high as they sensed that the tide was turning. The family, even though they were seen from every aspect, prepared to come out with their truth and take back their story in the most intense chapter of the season. For a brief period, the studio lights darkened, as if catching its breath. The slight sound of machinery creating a tension silent. The red on-air light then came back to life, indicating the last part of this confessional roller coaster. Kirk Frost, Karlie Redd, and Yandy Smith moved forward into the space. Squaring their shoulders, shine. Behind them, a monitor flashed with the rival network's claim. Part of the prank is Karlie's tears. As a gauntlet, the words hung there, challenging them to answer. The claim's outrageousness startled fans, and emotions ran high as everyone questioned whether these three would break down or face the smear directly. The family was split apart. Some anticipated a tearful collapse, while others awaited a victorious counterattack. Karlie took as she steadied her breathing and spoke to the camera in a quiet but firm tone. Rumor has it that the whole trip was planned to boost ratings. She started looking upon Yandy and Kirk for support. However, why would it be a stunt? Would I put myself in danger of sharing my worst fears live on TV? The query reverberated like a challenge around the studio. Kirk moved ahead next to with her headphones hidden. She displayed a unique vulnerability. I've known Karlie many years, he said in an emotionally charged tone. If she desired attention, she would, instead of sitting here crying about a pregnancy, fear that never materialized, do something spectacular. His genuine sincerity sent a message reverberate throughout the crew. Kirk's protective remarks stunned fans, and emotions were running high, as many people could feel his devotion piercing the rumors. The family was split up once more. This time, between skeptics and supporters. And Yandy, why narrow the distance between them? Look ferociously. We are not here to amuse tabloids, she said. Our purpose is to expose the sloppy reality of living in the limelight. She stopped, allowing the weight of genuineness settles. Prepare yourself for the raw if you're looking for drama. Unaltered version. Her remarks sounded like a call to action. Fans are taken aback by her bold posture as they supported her reluctance to give up. Emotions were running high. The family seemed to come together despite being caught in the crossfire of rumors and disclosures. Under the force of her defiance, the studio doors then sprang open, and Snoop Dogg, an unexpected visitor, strode into a group gasp. His demeanor was one of confetti. She was seen shaking her head on camera. Fake tears while mouthing the words. Karlie's face stiffened as the beginning cast hazy with pain. Mimi, she said, her eyes full of incredulity, voice with icy assurance emanating. From her chin, Mimi walked onto the scene. I thought, this is more drama. As I watched her say that while keeping my eyes fixed on Karlie, more than I can manage. As Mimi folded her arms, silence descended over the studio. Awaiting a reply, her return has stunned her fans as they awaited. The clash, tensions were high. The family was split apart. A few were excited to see Mimi's call-out confirmed. Others wished for peace. Before speaking, Karlie swallowed, causing breath to stick in her throat. I apologize to you feel that way, she said quietly as she looked directly into Mimi's eyes. This was never supposed to happen. Amusement? I lived it. Mimi's grim exterior wavered. Kirk took a step forward, safeguarding. He insisted that